It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here.
Hi and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Right on the show today, Indian women's cricket team looks to be in a bit of a trouble, on the verge of crashing out of the World Cup in the group stages itself, despite that win over Pakistan last evening. What are the scenarios? What do they need to do to make it to the top four? I'll tell you a bit about that in the show. The biggest footballing name from Uruguay, Luis Suarez, says national team coach and manager Marcelo Bielsa is the reason why Uruguay is floundering. The latest controversy to hit this country. I'll do a deep dive into the footballing culture and what's ailing them. Is Suarez's allegation all true? And Magnus Carlsen is ready to face off against one of his biggest fans. Footballing star Mo Salah challenges his favorite chess player Carlson for a game. And guess what the world #1 said? I'll tell you more about that later. But first, a look at the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with cricket, India beat Bangladesh by 7 wickets in the first T20 international of the 3-match series. India bowled out Bangladesh for 127 runs after asking the visitors to bat first. In response, India chased down that target in less than 12 overs. Arshdeep Singh was player of the match for his 3-for-14. In football, woes for Manchester United and Erik ten Hag continue. Manchester United's Premier League match against Aston Villa ended in a goalless draw. United have failed to register a win in their last 5 matches. With 2 wins in 7 games this season, United are currently 14th on the points table. In tennis, world #6 Coco Gauff clinched the China Open title. The American displayed a masterclass and overcame Karolina Muchova in straight sets. Gauff defeated her rival 6-1, 6-3. She's now the first American to win this tournament since Serena Williams did it in 2013. In basketball, NBA legend LeBron James and his son, Bronny James, zoomed into history books as the first father-son duo to share the court in the league's history. LeBron's son Bronny hit the court during the Los Angeles Lakers game against the Phoenix Suns. LA Lakers, though, lost the match 114-118. And to sum this all up, Alex Pereira retained his UFC light heavyweight crown by beating Khalil round 3 via technical knockout at the UFC 307 event. This was Pereira's 3rd consecutive title defense. Yes, you're watching, of course, our special coverage here at the World Cup, the quest for Queendom. And India's quest for Queendom at the Women's World Cup here seems to be in a bit of trouble. Despite beating Pakistan last evening, it's been a tough start for the Indian women at UAE at the World Cup. First came the loss to New Zealand late Friday night, pushing them into a must-win scenario for all of the remainder matches. I'll tell you why this is critical. The format has a lot to do with it. The teams are all divided into just 2 groups here, which makes the contest that much more difficult because you have to be 2 of the best in a group of 5 to go through to the semi-finals. It's not easy. It demands far more consistency than you could afford in other scenarios. So let's look at the group that India is slotted in. Now, it's with quite a few difficult teams here, and if I could just bring that up for you, that's New Zealand there for you, that's topping the group currently. You have Australia, followed by Sri Lanka and Pakistan. It's not an easy group to be a part of, and if you just look at the points that they've gathered here, it's deceptively difficult and more so. India has climbed up to the 4th spot, yes, after that win over Pakistan, but is that enough? Because the net run rate is still in the negatives. What more do they need to do to get across that line and get to that top 2? India not only need to win the remaining matches, but they need to win big. Let's look at what's happened in the tournament so far then, shall we, to set this up for you. India started off with a crushing loss at the hands of New Zealand, a team that was coming into this tournament on a 10-match losing streak. got that momentum going thanks to that win over India. What stayed for me from that match, though, was a moment where Harmanpreet Kaur, the Indian skipper, lost her cool over a run-out of Kaur, who was short of her crease, yes, but was called right back by the umpire because it was off a dead ball. And so the run-out did not count, and neither did that run. The Indian skipper, of course, was furious, and she kept talking to the umpires. She even went outside the ground, across the ropes, to engage in further debate. The coach, Indian team coach, was also there, Amol Majumdar, even as Smriti Mandana tried to calm her down. Now that, of course, rattled the captain, but irrespective of that moment, India were outplayed in every department. Jemima Rodriguez, who usually puts up quite the smiling face, she is pretty much the live wire in that squad, reflected what the whole Indian dressing room was probably already feeling.
This would be the game we would like to forget, because this is a World Cup. We need to keep moving on and keep picking ourselves up. We can't stay stuck at this game. I think that will show the character of this team.
From where we sit here, you can sense something a bit amiss in that campaign so far, but that's not the worst part. Fans went on to troll that Indian team after the horrendous defeat to New Zealand, and it turned pretty nasty. Yes, that last tweet there really summing up a lot of the hate that came after that loss. And it pushed India to a must-win scenario against Pakistan. They won, yes, but with just about 1 over to spare while chasing, let's admit it, a very modest target that they had restricted Pakistan to in the first place. Not the kind of win that anyone would be happy about. Their net run rate is still in the negative. There have been 1 or 2 standout performers, some youngsters coming forward like Arundhati Reddy in that last game against Pakistan with those crucial 3 wickets. But that synergy is not there. The urgency to up that net run rate was missing. That sense of collective aggression absent. So what lies ahead then for India if they need to make the most of this and turn things around from this point? 2 feisty opponents. One in Sri Lanka, the very same Sri Lanka under Chamari Atapattu that India lost their Asia Cup final to recently. There's revenge on the cards here. And then, of course, there's Australia, the most dominant women's team in this entire tournament. They have to win these 2 matches. India has to win these 2 games, and not just barely. They'll have to do these clinically and with a big enough margin to ensure that their net run rate improves from where it's at the point. A loss in any of these 2 means they're just relying on many other results as well. But 6 points, that's what India will, that's the number that will be singed in their brains for sure. The good news for Indian fans there is that India have beaten Australia in group stages of the last 2 T20 World Cup editions. The bad news, that 58-run loss to New Zealand and the laboured win over Pakistan may still haunt them despite what happens from this point on. Football in South America is rocky to say the least. Many South American countries are fighting to resolve instabilities that they find themselves in. One, of course, I could think of is Brazil, that's struggling due to mismanagement. Argentina is trying to stay above that racism row that erupted amidst recently. But today we bring you, of course, the story of 2-time world champion side Uruguay, who seem to be caught in the middle of a massive controversy that's threatening to tear the team apart. The accusations come from Uruguay's all-time highest goal scorer, a big name really, and recently retired Luis Suarez. His fingers are pointing at Uruguay's manager, coach, and one of the biggest names in football again, Marcelo Bielsa. Suarez has lashed out at Bielsa and blamed the Argentine for Uruguay's current state of affairs.
I will ask the fans not to take it out on the players when things go wrong. Bielsa has divided the whole group because of the way he trains. The players will reach a limit. They'll explode. We all know that he doesn't like to deal with players with experience. I had to keep quiet out of respect for the national team and for the sake of coexistence.
The accusations by Suarez are indeed severe. He says Bielsa has divided the team. Just recently, Uruguay finished third in the Copa America tournament. They lost to Colombia in the semi-final and somehow managed to secure the third spot after a penalty shootout win against Canada. Here's a fact though, it's not like Uruguay were uber successful before Bielsa came along last year. Their last major international triumph came way back in 2011 with the Copa America title win. But coming back to the present, this year though, they had a fair chance to go the distance. Reason, one of the strongest countries in South America, Brazil, aren't at their very best. The biggest threat to Uruguay was from Argentina. But Suarez feels it's the divide in the team that has led to their collective failure as a group.
There were even teammates who said to me they were only playing in the Copa America and nothing else. The staff are not allowed to come in and greet us or eat with us. Many of the players held a meeting to ask the coach to at least say good morning. He didn't even say hello. It hurts me to see what the national team is going through.
Suarez seemingly releasing that hornet's nest here. He's even relaying a few anecdotes, questioning Bielsa's training methods. And it comes as a shocker because in the past, Suarez has played under Diego Simeone, a manager who admires Bielsa and claims that his style of football is heavily inspired by Bielsa, another strict taskmaster who believes in getting the results. And it's not just Simeone who holds Bielsa in high regard. In fact, as one of the greatest minds in football, from Mauricio Pochettino to Pep Guardiola and even Jurgen Klopp, the list of top-class managers who admire Uruguay's under-fire coach at the moment, Bielsa, is a very long one. So clearly, it's not the technical prowess or that aspect which Suarez is questioning, but something much more important or critical for the functioning of a group. One of Bielsa's former players tries to reason this.
Bielsa cannot have a negative attitude towards people. The Chileans can confirm what I'm saying. He has always been very composed with the players. It's not about his attitude towards people, but rather that his style is more distant and professional.
Style is more distant and professional. Maybe the approach has worked for many other teams in the past, but it's not working with Uruguay. But what is Suarez, who's happily retired, enjoying his stint with the MLS team Inter Miami, raking this all up now? What has he to gain? That's hard to really say or put fingers to at the moment, but the concern definitely stems from the fact that in less than 2 years, there is going to be a World Cup. Now, despite Uruguay not winning a World Cup title in more than 70 years, they are always considered top contenders, feisty contenders who can give a tough contest to any opposition. Bielsa was brought in for this very reason, to make Uruguay a commendable force, a team that has the potential to compete at the international stage consistently. But Bielsa seems to be caught in a web that runs deep because Suarez is not the only one.
It's true that some things happened. Some problems have arisen and they need to be resolved behind closed doors. The priority is to be in a harmonious environment for the good of the team.
Rightfully pointed out here that a good environment is key to success. A toxic culture doesn't really work, let alone in a national team. The biggest example was seen with the Indian men's cricket team. They brought in one of the biggest faces in cricket to coach India, Greg Chappell. But what really happened? In the period between 2005 and 2007, India suffered one of the biggest slumps in their cricketing history. Chappell took over a side that had potency and turned that all upside down. But by the time Chappell left, India were knocked out of the 2007 World Cup in the group stages itself. The captaincy transition from Sourav Ganguly to Rahul Dravid was a chaotic one. In short, the Indian cricket team was left in shambles. Maybe something similar is happening with the Uruguay national side. They have a world-class coach, a coach who comes with solid reputation, but with an approach that is clearly not working and supposedly, allegedly dividing the team. That's what their top goal scorer says. A chaotic dressing room isn't something that the country wants. We saw what it did to an Indian dressing room, and just like what cricket is to India, football is to Uruguay. Clearly, the Uruguay Football Association has a big decision to make, one that will need to resolve this dispute and bring football back to focus. Chess's biggest superstar is undoubtedly Magnus Carlsen. The world number one is an inspiration. He's wacky and has a persona that clearly transcends the sport itself. When you talk about chess, you of course first think of Carlsen. His unique characteristics appeals to not just chess prodigies, but clearly players wanting to emulate him in that sport, but also athletes across disciplines. Like footballers, Liverpool forward Mohamed Salah recently sang praise of the Norwegian. And guess what? Salah's wish is to play a game of chess opposite Carlsen. Well, it might turn out to be a reality. Take a look.
Ever since Magnus Carlsen became a grandmaster in 2004, he ended the stereotype of your typical chess player. Not the serious, geeky, nerdy players that many are all too familiar with. He's all of that, yes, but more. Carlsen brings his own edgy personality to the sport, on and off the chessboard. Reason why someone like football star Mohamed Salah wants to go up against him.
I'm addicted to chess. No one has a chance with Magnus, but hopefully we play one day. I'm 1400.
We do love a sporting crossover, and this could be something. Salah wants to match his wits on the chessboard with only the best. Someone who chomps on 1400 rating point players on any given day. Carlsen in response did not brag about his victories, he simply accepted the challenge, leaving the fans all excited.
I'm a huge football fan and definitely a fan of Salah. I've not met him yet, but I would certainly love to, as well as other sports people who I admire who play chess.
And Carlsen is generally much loved in the football world. Not because he shows his admiration towards footballers, but because Carlsen himself plays football. No, not in the muddy fields or the proper turfs, but online. In 2020, Carlsen surpassed 7.3 million people to be crowned number one in fantasy football rankings. And who better to do it than a chess player? Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca himself says chess helps in training the mind of a coach. So Carlsen is practically a football coach without even taking the field. So what if the Carlsen versus Salah battle does happen? A footballer with 1400 chess rating points going up against a world number one who has studied football. That's a battle that can be a headliner at any event. The pressure will of course be on Carlsen. But here's what Salah will be reminded. The last time a Liverpool player faced Carlsen in a game of chess, it ended in less than 5 minutes, with Salah's teammate Alexander-Arnold being routed by the genius Carlsen in 17 moves. Carlsen enjoys going up against his football fans, quite clearly. Martin Odegaard has also played against him.
Martin Odegaard plays a little bit. He was playing a lot for a while, but then not so much. He's not a bad player, but he's kind of private about it.
Carlsen has faced some of the best footballers in the world. But given Odegaard comes from Norway, Carlsen may have cut him some slack. Not sure if he'd do the same when he goes up against Mohamed Salah. But the best time to find that out would be now. Carlsen is currently playing the Global Chess League in London, just a few hours away from Liverpool. No better time for the matchup than the present.
Right, time for last serve. The Messi family is setting some serious goals, family goals here. Every Messi match is a thing to treasure, whether it is the senior Messi playing in a World Cup final or Messi Jr., Thiago Messi, playing an Inter Miami under-13 game. The entire family comes together. Take a look. That wraps it up here on First Sports. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care and bye-bye.